What was that transition like for you into this role?
Well, it was really, man, it was surreal. You know, when JD started getting sick, and there were a couple of years where we sort of noticed symptoms about JD where he, at the time we kind of thought he was having a midlife crisis. You know, he just seemed a little less interested and a little less focused. He didn't make eye contact as much, and he would forget things that you say. And it's funny, Todd and myself, who were really JD's two best friends, we were getting frustrated, and we would even, I remember we had an intervention with him at a lunch, and we were like, JD, do you need to take a sabbatical? You really just don't seem as interested. And then when we finally realized there was something wrong, as he went to Mayo Clinic and they found that he had some issues with his brain, obviously it made a lot more sense to us. And so it became clear shortly after he became ill that somebody needed to have his role of president. I know a lot of people calling, congratulating me, which I was very gracious for, but every time someone would say it to me, all that I would think of was, that's supposed to be JD's job. You know,
Really?
That's my best friend's job. I didn't want that job. From that standpoint, it was just really, I would say it was difficult. And I'd say in my heart.
Did you struggle with it?
I still struggle with it.
How so?
I mean, there's just still something about being the president of a family business, and I'm not part of the family. You know, flying somewhere on the plane where it's just me and Joe, going to something that normally would have been him and JD, he would never make me feel like it, but my mind would go to a place where I would think, all he's thinking of right now is that's supposed to be my son. He didn't think that, but I thought that, because I'm a dad. I have 3 boys, and so that's what I would be thinking. You know, I made this company to run with my son, and now he's not here. JD was my best friend, and so I knew I can't fill his shoes, and I don't want to be JD. I want to be me doing this, and it's just in the back of your mind. You're always thinking, man, this isn't how it was supposed to go.
Best memory with JD over the years would be what?
That's a high bar. You know, our families vacation together, so we have 7 boys between us. He has 4, I have 3, and they're best friends. Our wives are best friends. So I would say, the ski trips are hard to beat. We would go on ski and snowboarding trips. We would do a guys trip every year with just the dads, and then we'd go as families. But I will say one thing about JD is, we used to joke. I talk about personalities. JD was our steady, and he's the only one. You know, Joe's very fiery, highs and lows. I get emotional. JD's excited and depressed. We're that far apart. So he was always, and so what I miss the most at work about that is we have it's like 5 crises a day, and I just miss JD's calming. When JD's in the room, whenever there's a crisis, never got flustered, and always had, hey, we're gonna walk through this, and we're gonna, and tomorrow we're gonna be just fine. He just always had a great perspective, and I miss that. Sometimes you just feel rudderless in there without that steady guy that you always will. All right, JD, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
Take me through what sticks out to you about the Daytona 500.
Every racetrack I pull into, I still think of JD when I see things, but none more than Daytona, because our families would go together every year. So Daytona's always been a JD place for me. I knew it was going to be tough for his boys and his wife and for all of us. And when I heard that Toyota and Fox had arranged to have a tribute lap for JD on lap 11, I told all of our friends or guys that never watch races are like, man, I'm watching, I can't wait, I'm gonna record this, I can't believe they're doing it. And so you would think in the back of your mind, it would be amazing if we won, but honestly, you're just like, there is no way. It's like, no one would believe you if you wrote that script. What I had no idea was that we'd finish 2nd and 3rd as well. And I didn't even know till we got to victory lane. Melissa was crying, the boys were crying, my family's crying, Joe's crying, and you're just like, honestly, and Coach would probably tell you the same thing, it really took that, like it wasn't until that moment that I think we all really began the real true healing process where you're like, all right, we're gonna be okay. That was like the stamp of approval that I got you, you're good. You know what I mean? Until then, there were things that didn't make sense, but it's like, it all made sense. It all made sense after that race. Again, and it doesn't mean I have to like JD not being here. I still don't like it, but it was like, we're gonna be okay, and I still feel that way. I mean, I have felt a relief ever since that race. I felt a relief when JD passed away because he wasn't suffering anymore, and there was always an unsettled spirit about just knowing, gosh, that he's going through this, and it was just so indefinite. But that win, as silly as it sounds, because that's an age-old question in the faith discussions in the faith communities of does God really care who wins or loses a game? And my answer is always, I think he does, but not in the way that we care. You know what I mean? It's not in the who prays the most, it has nothing to do with that. But I do think he can use sports for good and for part of his plan. And I think in this case, there is no doubt. I mean, I had a friend who's an atheist who texted me, and he was like, okay, I can't deny that was, I mean, you can't look at that and go, so we could run that, we'll run that race, we'll never finish first, second, and third ever again. I mean, it's not going to happen, especially with the 11 car winning in that order. It just was, it was impossible. So it was a long answer, but it was the greatest race that I've ever been to.